Going on, boxing fans? So May 9th, which is obviously the Saturday after the most lucrative boxing match in the history of the sport takes place, as Canelo Alvarez returns to HBO in a fight with James Kirkland. And Canelo Alvarez's actual debut on HBO was supposed to take place last December against Joshua Clottey, as they were saying, but due to an ankle injury, the fight was postponed or just really just canceled altogether. But the fight that many of us were hoping to see in the first half of 2015 was what many consider, including myself, the second biggest fight in boxing, which is a fight with Miguel Cotto and Canelo Alvarez. Now, as the story goes, both teams were negotiating, and it was the first time that Golden Boy and Top Rank were negotiating for a big fight. You know, they had done fights in the last couple of months, you know, smaller level fights, but this was going to be the first Top Rank Golden Boy partnership for a big pay-per-view fight in quite a while. And like I said, as the story went, both teams are negotiating, and a deal couldn't be struck. Now, on the surface, what it looked like was that Miguel Cotto and team did not want any part of Canelo Alvarez, as he walked off the negotiations table saying they gave Cotto deadlines, and they had to walk off saying they wanted to fight on May 2nd, while Cotto's team weren't really stuck on the May 2nd date, obviously because they saw this huge elephant in the room in the corner. But we saw how that actually turned out, and fight couldn't be made. But what transpired following a few weeks after is, we saw the major deal between Miguel Cotto and Rock Nation, as Cotto now is looking at, in the next 3 fights, making a guaranteed $17 to $18.5 million, guaranteed. So while some people are saying Cotto made a mistake not taking the fight, I think after everything, after all the smoke cleared, it looked like there was some turmoil between Top Rank and Miguel Cotto, as it's pretty apparent now. But I think it's pretty clear now that that fight is still somewhat on the table. Oscar De La Hoya has made mention of it, saying he will definitely work with Rock Nation. And now that Cotto's getting the money that seems as if he was looking from with Top Rank, could be getting it in the fall. But again, we're stepping our bounds. We got to fight May 9th. And Canelo Alvarez, like I said, he's facing James Kirkland. Now, James Kirkland, I always term this the roller coaster of some of these guys' careers. But James Kirkland is one of these guys that has had a roller coaster of a career inside and really outside as far as his personal life is concerned. Now, he's had this ongoing relationship with Ann Wolf, who is noted as really the trainer that took him to his highest level. But as we've seen throughout his career, man, he just hits these roadblocks, like I said, inside and outside of the ring. Now, funny enough, Canelo versus Kirkland was supposed to happen 2 years ago. And Kirkland bowed out due to, I think it was an injury, but I think there was some other things that were going on in his personal life that some of the news outlets were reporting. But nevertheless, he didn't get the fight. But within that time frame, or from that time frame, man, like, he hasn't been very busy and hasn't fought like even mid-level guys. So it's, when you look at this fight, man, and you look at the fact that Canelo Alvarez is making his first appearance on HBO, and he's making his first appearance in the ring in close to a year, man. I mean, we forget Canelo Alvarez is only like 24 years old, and he's already in that pocket of being a guy who we're only seeing once, if not maybe twice a year. So I don't know how beneficial that is for Canelo Alvarez, but I think the fact that they got a guy like James Kirkland to get in there with Canelo in his first fight on HBO over a guy like, one of the Charlo brothers, or maybe an Andrade, who would be a tougher fight, but maybe won't make Canelo look as good as Golden Boy and I think HBO want him to look. Because again, when I'm talking about the potential fights that Canelo Alvarez could have on HBO, I mean, when they signed this deal, the two names that I think that HBO were targeting him for them to make big fights was definitely Miguel Cotto and obviously Gennady Golovkin. The Cotto fight to me seems like the fight that HBO would be all over to make. But prior to that, you want to get Canelo Alvarez back on the on the stage and back in front of the casual fans to really just get people back to seeing like, all right, well, yeah, here's Canelo Alvarez, because he hasn't fought since the Lara fight, and I mean, look, man, he didn't look great in that fight, and some people argue he might have lost. I mean, I don't think so, but he has to have, I think he has to have a big outing against James Kirkland. And when you look on the surface, man, as far as the potential dangers that James Kirkland can bring in, I mean, look, you hear the term puncher's chance, and that's really, in my opinion, all James Kirkland really, really has. And the more I look at this fight, man, this reminds me a lot of what the Alfredo Angulo fight was for Canelo, and the reason they got that fight for Canelo Alvarez to make him look good. And while we've seen James Kirkland, hurt guys like an Angulo, he's shown obviously a lot of vulnerabilities as well, and he's shown that for a guy as strong as he is, and a guy who, some people like a few years ago were calling the junior middleweight Mike Tyson, his chin isn't the greatest, and I look at Canelo Alvarez, for a guy who doesn't have the quickest feet, doesn't have the best footwork, but is probably a little bit underrated as far as his boxing technique. But again, like, not the greatest defense and not the greatest footwork, but I mean, he does put his punches together pretty well, and he does have a nice left hook to the body. So, to be honest with you, I think this fight for Canelo Alvarez is meant for him to look very menacing, and is meant for, the casual fans and really the Mexican fans in general to really just get back on the Canelo bandwagon. Because like I said, look, with Triple G, and I made a mention of this in my last video talking about the Triple G and Willie Monroe fight. Golovkin he's being heavily regarded by the Mexican fan base, but he's fighting a lot more consistent than Canelo is. So I have no doubt that HBO is looking in a year's time between a Canelo and a Triple G fight, and I think HBO has to get Canelo back on board as far as simply just getting him back in the ring and getting the fans behind him again. Even though I don't think a lot of people have dropped off the bandwagon as far as people who are current Canelo Alvarez fans, but this isn't a fight I'm really gonna get too detailed in, but I mean, I really think this is a fight that Canelo Alvarez is gonna look really good in. I don't think James Kirkland at this point, man, has been active enough, and the fact that he's gone through different trainers and really there is no solid foundation in his camp, and then adding that 50 is his promoter, and there's been some issues with that. I think this is 50, in my opinion, giving James Kirkland a bone, man. To be quite honest with you, and for 50, his SMS promotions hasn't been doing great per se as far as the overall landscape, or I should say the overall what was the word I'm looking for? Him being a promoter and getting an HBO date is something that most promoters don't get every single day. And considering 50 Cent, unlike a lot of other boxing promotions, is going to get an opportunity more than others, he's taking full advantage of it, man. And do I think he thinks that he's going to knock Canelo out or beat Canelo? I mean, I don't know, man. But as far as I see it, I think this is a stay busy fight for Canelo. And like I said, I think this is what HBO and Golden Boy want to make him look good to prep him for a potential fight in the fall with Miguel Cotto. And to this, as I'm making this video now, like, we don't know who Cotto is going to fight, and apparently we're going to know in the next couple of days. But after June, which is when I think Cotto will fight, I think if both guys come out victorious in their fights, man, I think they're going to sit at the negotiations table again. And I got a feeling if both come out the winners, I think we got another super fight in the fall. So we'll have to wait and see. May 9th, following Mayweather versus Pacquiao. We'll see if the replay is aired, depending, obviously, who wins Mayweather-Pacquiao. If that's even the case, I'm not even 100% sure who's getting the replay rights. I mean, that wasn't ever solidified as far as Mayweather-Pacquiao. But May 9th, HBO, Canelo Alvarez versus James Kirkland. I got Canelo Alvarez mid-late round stoppage. So let me know what you think of the fight. Let me know who you'd want to see Canelo fight next. I mean, I think the obvious choice would be Miguel Cotto for most people. But it's pretty much it, man. Monday nights, 9:30, the GYGB Boxing Podcast. We're going to do round 2 of the Mayweather-Pacquiao Roundtable. The first episode, if you click on the link below, it's the third or fourth episode down. I think it was the third. But if you actually look on my YouTube page, I posted up the full podcast. So we're gonna go round 2 because some of us already have predictions for Mayweather-Pacquiao. I myself already have a prediction. I haven't made the official video yet, but if you want a little sneak peek, tune in Monday, 9:30 p.m. GYGB Boxing Podcast. So as I always say, subscribe, hit the links, and I'll be back with you soon. Peace.